Okay, so I finished appliquing the fourth block. Nothing really out of the ordinary in this one, except that there were some very, very small pieces. So these leaves are embroidered, and I decided to use 3 little seed beads here on top, just because of the size. So that's an option you might want to consider. And then I've already joined the first row so that I could applique the smaller designs that go on top. So nothing either really to point out here, except that you will probably find that these smaller designs are a lot, you'll do a lot more fidgeting with them than with the larger doll designs. So I actually find that I'm spending more time appliquing these smaller designs than I would on the sous themselves. Okay, so I've already appliqued the jingle bells, as you see here, between blocks 2 and 3, and then there's just a regular bell between blocks 3 and 4. Now, the next thing here in this block is the little Scotty dog. So here's the design. And for all of these blocks, I'm mainly using my, the technique that I'm working with is using freezer paper to fold under the edges and hold them in place with starch. And so I did prepare my pieces the same way for this block, except that I found that I was having trouble with these little sharp edges. And even though I had turned them under, I realized quite quickly that there was going to be a lot of fraying in these. So I thought, I've already prepared this piece. It was ready to go, but I knew I was going to have problems in these areas right here. Not so much here, these are bigger points. Excuse me. But here. So what did I do? I decided to combine techniques. So even though this is turned under, what I did was I applied some thin fusible interfacing to these areas right here and cut them out straight so that I can, these 3 areas I will, and probably this one too, I will applique with a blanket stitch. And then the rest I will continue to work with the edges turned under and an invisible stitch. So here's my piece ready to go. This is the front, you can see. But see on the back, I have ironed on the fusible interfacing to these areas. I'll have to decide about this as I get to this point, if that's what I want to do. But all the other edges are turned under. And then the other thing that I have done, which you can't see right now, but in any case, for all those points and all these sharp inner edges, I have applied some fray check to make sure that as I work along that it won't fray. This is a great product for that, and I will continue to use it as I applique this piece if I see that there's a need. If you aren't able to find the fray check in your country or something, another tip from the fashion world is you can just use plain transparent fingernail polish. It works just as well. So I'm going to go ahead now and, and the other thing about this particular little dog is, since the fabric is black, you will probably want to embroider his eye and this little fold in his ear with white embroidery thread. So that's going to be the challenge for this particular little guy here. I'm going to go ahead and applique him, and I'll come back and show you the finished block. Okay, so here's the finished piece. Just to recap, I had already prepared this little Scotty dog using freezer paper and starch to turn the edges under. And since I had already prepared it, I decided to go ahead and use the piece, but I had realized also that in these places right here, there was going to be a lot of fraying because they're just so very, very narrow. So what I did was, in these pieces, and in the end I did do it here also, I just placed, I ironed on some fusible interfacing, a thin fusible interfacing, and so I could cut the pieces right to the edge. And so in the places where the edges were turned under, I just used an invisible stitch, and in these places where I had the fusible interfacing on the underside, then I used a blanket stitch. All in all, it turned out pretty well. This is the first time that I've done something like this, that has used two techniques in one piece, and it worked out okay. I don't know if I would do this again, but at least in this case it worked out really well. So this was my tip for this particular block and for the row. We finished the first row in this quilt, and it's ready to move on then to the next block. I hope this has been helpful, and I thank you for watching.